Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Carver Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023. We will follow the agenda for our order of business. First up, under discussions and business, is 38 Lakeview Street.
Hello.
Hi.
Sign in, please, too.
Sign in and
Thanks.
make sure the microphone's somewhere near you. Thank you.
Testing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And for project, I just list my address.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So I'm here to follow up on a letter I
Just
first
name and address first, please.
Oh,
just
okay,
so
sorry.
all our viewers know who you are.
All right, my name is Jennifer Hunt. I reside at 38 Lakeview Street. I'm here to follow up from initially what I received in late fall, just regarding a letter in the mail about a report that when people were at the adjacent property that was at the time building a house, that they saw that some of the vegetation had apparently been cut. And so I appeared voluntarily shortly following receipt of that letter and agreed at that time that I would plant some blueberry bushes and things like that. So this is a follow-up to that conversation. So what I've done is I have planted some blueberry bushes, and I have photos if you want to see them, and just of some other photos of the shoreline. And I forgot to print, but what I'm thinking is, as I reported at the time, there was a huge tree right along the property line there that had fallen down during a storm, and I did have that removed, and I have photos of that tree when it was damaged, when it fell in the storm. I forgot to print it, but I have it on my phone to show you as well, if that's of interest.
Okay. Your neighbors on at
Yep.
at 42. I think,
Okay.
they had cleared underbrush along their shoreline as well, right after they moved in. But they came. Can we get that off? They came into us first, and we went out with an arborist and went over everything that they were going to cut down as the understory.
Yes, and I did talk with them about
And
that.
and part of what our agreement with them is that once the understory was cleared out, then they had to leave that alone and let it grow back naturally.
Yes.
Everything, whatever was there. So I'm glad that you planted blueberry bushes, but also I know that there's a little area that you have where you have your kayaks or canoes or whatever, and there's a little chairs and everything.
Yes.
That's fine to keep open, but along the rest of the shoreline, in that probably 10 feet that was undisturbed 2 years ago, you have to let everything grow back.
Yes, and I have photos to show that as
Okay.
well. You can see the growth, the natural
Okay.
growth there as well. So I have
All right, if you
photos.
have them, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take them and we can
Bring them
pass
to you?
Yeah, please.
Okay. And then on my phone, I have the photo of the fallen tree. Do you want to see that?
No, I think I know what, I'm aware of the tree. Okay, they're the blueberry bushes. Okay.
So those are the ones that were recommended. Gary,
Okay.
I think you had recommended a particular
Okay.
variety of blueberry bush. Those are the ones that were planted.
Okay.
All right. That looks good.
Okay.
That looks fine.
We just needed some evidence that you had done something. So
I
usually we
understand.
go onto the property and take a peek, but that's why we called Jan.
Yeah, no, I understand, and so that's why I'm here.
Okay, so that looks fine, and that's actually I'm on the other side of the pond, as you know. The property adjacent to me, where the big house is, they did that as well, and we sent them a letter stating that what they had done was illegal and not to do it again and to let it all grow back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same solution, and that's what we told the Murphys, your neighbors. So it's the same solution for everybody.
Yes, I understand.
So I didn't want you to think that you were being
Oh, no.
picked on at all.
Never occurred to me.
Okay, all right. Very good. So I'm fine with what I see there.
I'm fine.
Everybody else good with that? So just let it go. It'll come back and no. And how many blueberry plants?
There are 8 there.
8? Okay. I hope they produced fruit for you as well.
I think they will. There's a lot of sunlight there. So I think they'll do well.
Are these for us?
If you want them.
Yeah, we'll put them in the
Yeah, I'll
room.
put them
Okay.
in the file.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for
All right,
coming in. I
thank you.
appreciate it.
Yes,
And,
thank you for your time. Okay?
Yep, we're
So
good.
issue resolved.
It's all resolved.
Awesome.
We're good.
All right.
Thank you. All right. 17 Wareham Street, complaint.
All right, the only reason why I had added that to the agenda was just in case they were gonna come in the last minute. But I did write a letter, I sent you a
Yes.
copy of it, just to let the guys wanna see it, I can show you the letter, but I did write them a letter.
Right, I saw a copy of the letter.
So that was just an open slot in case they showed up.
Right. Okay, next up is the donation offer from the mitigation land specialists. And I saw that there was a note here, an email to you from, from
Yeah,
Thomas.
Tom Bott and I talked about, that's this one you guys have with the highlighter on it.
Yeah.
We talked about it, and Wildlife Trust said when the time comes, they would accept the money, if it's okay with the commissioners. Planning's fine with it.
All right, this was what we discussed last, at our last meeting where this group, the mitigation land specialists wanted to make a donation. They were thinking about making it to the Conservation Commission, and we kind of said it should go towards a nonprofit instead, so that there's no feeling of
Favoritism.
or ethics violation. What I'll do in this case is accept a motion to allow mitigation land specialists to donate the money to Wildlands.
With that, if we are hands off of that, doesn't it then become a non-conservation commission issue then? If we are in fact not accepting donations and we're approving them to go in one direction or another? I don't know if that then ties us then to another organization, which nothing wrong with that organization, but if we're,
Well, they're tied in with a project in town, and they're doing it to mitigate tree removal. I found out a little bit about the job after we had the last meeting. They've been in front of planning. So planning actually has been spearheading it, but they wanted our blessing too, meaning Tom Bott and planning, plus that foundation.
yeah, maybe I'm overthinking it, because
I
we're.
think it's, I mean, the thing that concerned me was how it would look if if the conservation accepted the money. From us agreeing that they can donate it to another nonprofit, I don't think is,
Why don't we just say that, just to another nonprofit, not just name a specific one, because that's what your point is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, I'll
Yeah.
take that motion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
motion to allow mitigation land specialists to make their donation to a nonprofit conservation society.
So moved.
Second.
Second? All right, we've got, Curtis got the first second in, so we'll give it to him.
Talk about favoritism here.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we allow mitigation land specialists to donate to the conservation nonprofit of their choice. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We're good on that. Carver Wetland Bylaw and Regulation Flyer. We have a copy, everyone has a copy of this. This is something that used to be available on the shelf across from the permitting department. And I guess we're out of them?
Yeah, I found one.
Found
I'm
one.
still cleaning the office out, and I found one, so.
Okay.
And we had
So,
discussed coming up with something like this last fall, so.
And these are online also, right? It's on the,
I don't think,
it was on the conservation website. I think
This
there's a link-
was?
a link
Yeah,
to it. I think
yeah, I've read it on the
Is it still-
website too.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
all right.
But it'd be nice to put it out,
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely.
or if you guys take a look at it and you see anything you want to update.
I think that's probably what we should do,
That's
is
what I- that's
I'll give
mostly
it a
why I
read
printed
through
it.
and see if there's anything that,
Okay.
that we think needs updating.
Because it is older.
Yeah, was it 98 or something like that?
Yeah. something.
What I'd like to do after we get it updated, if we need to, is to get it printed again and have it out as a handout. What I'd also like to do, and I don't know if the town does this, I don't know if there's any kind of a packet that the town gives to new homeowners. Anything go out with
As far as I know,
taxes?
No, we're not that up on doing that. We had discussed that too last fall.
Right, yeah, I mean, I think we even talked about the fact that pre-COVID, there was talk about having an intern work with the assessor's database and the GIS maps to find out every property in town that had wetlands either on it or near enough to do that and flag that in the assessor's database as being something to be aware of when you know.
I can ask Joe, the assessor, and see if that
Okay.
ever went anywhere.
Okay, all right, so let's take a look at this, and if you have anything that needs updating or anything that you think needs adding,
Yeah, let me know.
yeah, we'll talk about it at our next meeting. Okay?
Good.
And we can put that on the agenda.
Okay.
One other thing I want to add to discussions in business, and this really is topics not reasonably anticipated. Do we have any site walks for the 16th of August yet?
As of now, not unless we go to revisit 46 Federal Road, which was continued,
Okay.
you know, to let the other guys see it, the
All
other
right.
commissioners.
Last night, we had a meeting with the redevelopment authority, and we need to make a site visit with the redevelopment authority to Wade Street to see if that barn has been moved. Next to, that was on the property that the RDA is planning on turning over ownership to conservation. So if we can have that as the 10 o'clock site visit on the 16th, members of the RDA will be there.
Now, do you want to put that on as a discussion item?
We can
too?
do that as well.
Okay.
That could be a discussion and possible vote, actually,
All right.
depending
Okay.
on how far they've gone.
Sure.
So let's have that for our site visit on the 16th.
You got it.
Okay, minutes, we'll get to that later. Continued public hearings, 46 Federal Road, 126670 has been continued to the 16th of August, so we'll move to our new public hearing. 48 Lakeview Street, it's an RDA. Tonight, notice is hereby given in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, that a public hearing will be held at 7 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023, in Meeting Room 1 at the Carver Town Hall to hear the request for the determination of applicability, an RDA, filed by the Town of Carver to determine whether the activities depicted on the referenced plan is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act and its regulations, and whether the area and/or activities depicted on the reference plan is subject to the jurisdiction of any municipal wetlands ordinance or bylaw of the Town of Carver. The RDA is for the resurfacing the existing tennis court, the neglected maintenance, clearing of vegetation along outside the existing tennis court fence, removal and installation of new said fencing in its original location, and construction of a 6-foot wide walkway along the outside of said fence. The property is located at 48 Lakeview, Lakeview Street, Carver, Massachusetts, Carver Assessors Map 7, Lot 21. All interested parties are invited to attend. Hi, Mary.
How are you?
I'm good. Finally, you're in front of us. All right, David, Curtis, and I went this morning. I, of course, have been there before, but Dave and Curtis went with Gary, and we saw the, and we did just a regular site visit. So we're familiar with what's going on. Hi.
Good evening. My name is Andy Glines. I'm a professional civil engineer with Fuss & O'Neill. And Fuss & O'Neill was hired by the town to assist with the redevelopment of the tennis courts at the Council on Aging to develop usable pickleball courts. So I'm here this evening to discuss the request for determination of applicability. I know this being a municipal property, town property, you're all very familiar with it, but I'll still give a brief overview for the public on the property itself before getting into our proposed site improvements, and then can field any questions that the commission or the public has this evening. As you may know, there are tennis courts at the property currently. The pavement is in disrepair, cracked and upheaving, no longer usable for tennis courts. And the tennis court area is enclosed by a chain link fence, and similar to the pavement, the chain link fence is in really rough shape. It's probably an understatement, with a lot of the chain link fabric being detached from the posts, and especially the north and eastern sides. Actually, let me just take this. The north and eastern sides really being encompassed by an overgrown with vegetation that encroached in from the neighboring wetland area. The existing tennis courts, a portion of that pavement actually sits within the 65-foot buffer, and another larger portion of that is within the 100-foot wetland buffer. There's to the south a open lawn area with, fair condition grass, existing access road to the parking lot for the pond to the west, and obviously the existing Council of Aging building and existing parking lot for that facility up closer to the frontage of the road. So our proposed site improvements, we will be resurfacing the tennis courts and removing and replacing the chain link fencing, and adding some supplemental parking as well as some pedestrian walkways. Now, as you may know, the size of a pickleball court is smaller than a tennis court. Typically, you can stripe 2 pickleball courts per 1 tennis court. Here, with the existing 2 tennis courts, we're actually proposing to create 6 pickleball courts. In order to accommodate the 6 courts, we need to expand the footprint of the pavement about 6 feet on 2 sides. And in order to do that, we're holding the edge of pavement that's within the 65-foot wetland buffer, and we are only expanding on the west and southern sides, which both of those sides and all the proposed pavement is outside the 100-foot wetland buffer.
So it's out of our jurisdiction.
Correct. The only other site improvements that we have within the 100-foot wetland buffer will be the chain link fence replacement. And again, the fence line within that 100-foot will be the same location as the existing fence. And we are proposing to clear the vegetation that's overgrowth on that existing fence, trim it back, and add a 6-foot wide pedestrian walkway around the fence that will allow for maintenance access as well as pedestrian access around the courts. And the other site improvements outside the 100-foot are a asphalt milling parking lot to add additional parking to the property to accommodate the new users for the pickleball courts, and a small sand filter to collect runoff from that parking lot. Although it will be asphalt millings and it won't be paved, it would be increasing the runoff characteristics of the lawn, dirt that's currently there. And the grading of the existing tennis courts and how that pitches to the northeast will remain the same, but that impervious area within the court will be fenced in, so it won't have the pollutant loads you'd see from a parking lot or a driveway with, would be sanded and salted. So the pollutant load from that runoff should be, negligible compared to a roadway or a parking lot that would be maintained in the winter. I can certainly elaborate more if anyone has any questions, but
Well, for your stormwater, you have a little sand filter area, right?
Correct. So we are proposing a sand filter, which is essentially, it's going to be lawn vegetated cover with a slight depression in it, a couple inches of topsoil, and then a sand filter media below that. Obviously, we all know there's abundance of sand in town, but this is a approved stormwater treatment practice under the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook, and the intent is to treat the stormwater runoff from the asphalt milling parking lot, infiltrate it at that location, as well as provide treatment for the existing access road that's currently on the property that already drains to that location. So we're not proposing any drain basin overflow structure or any new catch basins or closed conduit storm drain pipe network. It's just basically giving locating a stormwater treatment practice where the stormwater is currently collecting on site to improve the water quality. As I know, this site in particular was identified by the town as a property that had the potential for additional stormwater treatment. So we wanted to address that as a town priority as part of this project while we were doing some site improvements here. And the existing access road to the parking lot for the pond and the parking lot for the pond, as well as the existing parking lot for the Council on Aging, will remain as is, untouched, at least for at this time. It is something that we're looking into as future site improvements, but it's not proposed as part of this scope or this request for determination of applicability. Anything else?
I'm all
Gary?
set.
Anyone have any questions? Yes, sir. Mr. Badger.
Hi. I was just curious, so normally when you put in these courts, it's 2 pickleball courts per regular tennis court. So what you said was, okay. Just knowing our wetland restriction bylaws, is there a reason why you didn't just stick to 4? And simply, if you wanted to expand west and south, you'd be essentially moving the project outside of our no-touch zone. I just didn't know if that was a part of your consideration.
So we did look into potentially pulling the pavement further away. Maybe, I don't think would be able to feasibly remove the court entirely from the 100-foot, but in order to accommodate what we expect the demand to be in town for these pickleball courts, as well as potentially utilize the existing gravel base of the tennis courts, which although the pavement itself is in poor condition, the gravel base underneath that potentially can be salvageable or supplemented. So we wanted to utilize that existing gravel base for the new pavement that we're adding. Although we are planning on bringing in new processed gravel as a base, we may not need to bring in as much or remove as much if we keep the same footprint as the existing tennis courts.
And what I'm looking at here on figure 1 is what's going to be the finished product, not what is in existence. I'm just trying to see where the line was of where it's at and where it's going to be, particularly on the northeast corner.
If you look at CP 101, which is like the second one in, third one in,
Yeah.
I think that you can see, next page.
CS one?
That one.
Yeah,
That's the same as you have.
that's the same. Yeah, because this one looks the same as the other one, except it's just not
So
colored
this,
in.
this small square here is
Where they're expanding.
that's the
Yeah.
original, and this is what they're expanding to,
Right.
outside of.
Yeah, so my question is why not just shift the project out of the 65? Because it looks like you have the space to do that.
Not with 6 courts.
Not with 6 courts, no.
And the decision to not shift it south was made so that we could accommodate the additional parking lot there, where if we shift the courts in the parking lot further south, which feasibly could get us out of the 65-foot, would start cutting into that slope. And that slope actually has an existing septic system on the up gradient side.
Yeah, I
So we didn't want to disturb any of that existing slope or potential cover of that system.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
No.
And Curtis, you said none?
No.
I have a couple of questions, but more or less wearing a little bit of a different hat. I don't have questions regarding inside of our jurisdiction, 100 foot of the 65. I think that's a good solution, keeping that corner intact and enlarging to the south and to the west. My question is, and it's really more just for future planning on this, where you have the sidewalk adjacent to the road going to the beach along the west side of the courts, is that encroaching now at all onto the existing road? I know there's kind of a gray area where the road ends and where the slope begins. And I'll before you answer, I'll tell you why I'm asking. There had been discussion at some point of having room for additional parking along the fence line with 44 Lakeview, which would be to the west of the current courts. Right now, it's underbrush, but it can be cleared out. The fence that's there now is going to come out. So at some point, that can be excavated and cleared out right up to the fence line to create more parking should the pickleball become as popular as it seems to be in other communities. So I was just wondering if we might be setting up something that would allow for less parking, the way this walkway is designed right now along that side where those 2 picnic tables are.
So the current layout, with this walkway, the intent was to basically stabilize the shoulder and give a designated pedestrian route adjacent to the existing drive lane. So we wouldn't be reducing the width of the existing drive lane. We would be replacing the lawn shoulder with the asphalt millings to create that 6-foot wide path. It would be feasible to put that path directly adjacent to the fence line, which in turn could allow that access road to be shifted further east and then create more room for potential future parking proposed on the west side of this existing access road. But currently, the way we have it shown allows us to accommodate some potential site furnishings, specifically picnic tables, between that walkway and the fence line, and which would be located adjacent to the main double swing gate that provides access to the courts So we believe that will be basically a waiting area as people are waiting for a court to free up. And the way the walkway is currently set kind of separates the vehicular traffic from the site furnishings and waiting area.
Okay, all right.
But
I understand that.
If we move forward and parking is proposed, I think it would be a reasonable adjustment at that time to shift the walkway, and then the current asphalt millings there wouldn't necessarily need to be removed.
Okay,
That could be
okay.
used as part of the base and sub-base for, new pavement for that drive lane.
All right, so is there, so that's just going to be flush with the road?
Correct.
Okay, no curving. Okay, because I'm just looking at it looks like the narrowest point, which is where your driveway, where your sidewalk takes that little jog, and the fence, it looks to be about 22 feet, which is 2 lanes of a road, basically. So if we're thinking at some point in the future, based on usage and need of putting parking in there, that may be something we need to look at. So I guess it really wasn't much of a question, as more of a statement about looking into what we may be needing to do in the future. We have Mr. Germain here, who. How are you, sir? You have volunteered to do some work. Yes, please. Thank you, Andy, by the way.
Thank you, Andy. Let me see the drawing, wait. The reason I'm asking to see it is because there's a couple of words that he's using that I don't agree with. I talked with Gary this morning. We're not resurfacing tennis courts. I'm removing all of the asphalt and disposing of it off-site. There will be gravel, then they're going to repave that area with brand-new asphalt. That's not part of my thing.
All right.
So I'm going in there and I'm taking out all the brush, the brush that was cut down a couple of years ago without permission. I'm going in and removing it, and yes, I have a written letter of permission from the town. So I'm taking that out, the chain link fence, the piping, and all of the asphalt. The town's responsible to get rid of the chain link fence, the metal piping, and all the brush. I'm going to dispose of the asphalt. And this is all done in cooperation with O&M. They're going to provide a couple of vehicles so that they can haul the stuff to wherever it is they go with it, and I'm going to provide the trucking for the asphalt. We talked about going up against the fence line. I'm going to try to dig out some of that brush and see what it looks like, but if we start hitting surface roots, that could be a problem. You don't want to start cutting down a whole bunch of trees along that fence line between that and the conservation property at 44.
Correct.
So I think under the best of circumstances, Andy would probably be better versed in this, but we could end up with either a parallel parking area where they can have, we could have 4 or 5 spots, or we could even maybe come in at a diagonal and use like compact cars. You certainly wouldn't be able to put a full-size pickup truck or something like that, but you could use compact cars and would give you some additional parking along that fence line. I have no intentions of ripping out the fence. I'm going to go in and take out the brush and just give it kind of like a test and see what it looks like pulling the brush out of there.
Okay.
And then if the town wants to remove that chain link fence, and I'm already there anyway and I have the time, I'll be happy to pull some of it out and get it out of there. But,
all right.
and this is all being done as a donation.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
No, it's not what I'm saying it for. I didn't say it for a thank you. I said it because it's a fact. And
Okay.
I made that offer when this first came up.
Well,
When we
thank
first
you
talked
anyway.
about this. So,
How wide are you going to clear? Are you going to clear right up to the work?
yeah, I think we had talked about the buffer behind the fencing. We were going to do like 6 feet, just so that you got to get all this growth. You got growth growing through the fence, so
Oh, I
we
know.
got to
We
dig
saw it
all
today.
that out of there. And I think a 6-foot wide track, because the machine is 5 feet wide, so I got to be able to get in there to rip out everything. So we settled on 6 foot. Obviously, if I start digging up something that's at the 6-foot mark and it's got a root ball to it that goes out to 8 feet, then we'll put the dirt back. But, you know, I can't control where the roots go. And I don't know how big what is in there. So I think we're gonna have to cut some of it down before I can rip it out of there, because there's some trees back there. And that's
Okay.
what the town, Dave's told me, that's what he's gonna do. And apparently the town, he chuckled because the town bought them a nice new wood chipper, so they're gonna get to play with that.
Okay, so you're going to go just a little bit, just about the width of the walkway, correct?
That's my intent.
Okay.
The width of the walkway, the width of the machine. I need a little bit of swing room, but, you know, this could go out 8 feet beyond the fence on the east side, but we're only, when all is said and done, you're gonna come back to the 6-foot mark.
Well, they're asking, the limit of work goes out to 18 from the fence.
Perfect.
According to the plan, so you're covered.
That's
If you
perfect. I just
get a-
wanna
if you
make
get
sure
a
that
weird
everybody's on the same page.
You're all set.
That's all.
Our intention on that limited disturbance and that request was, as Alan mentioned, it's hard to estimate root ball and, you know, root zones. So, but the intent is to limit the disturbance beyond that 6-foot proposed walkway, but I didn't want to ask for 6 feet and then have to
Now,
disturb.
that would be considered temporary disturbance, though.
Correct.
It's not permanent
Right.
disturbance.
Right, but I mean, we can see how everything grows back, so we want to clear it as much as we can so it
And-
stays intact.
And removal of some of the trees that are overgrown by some of the underbrush as well will help with the operation and maintenance of the courts themselves, you know, and mitigate the debris that will be, you know, collected in the fence line.
Right.
As far as I know, Dig Safe has already marked it out, and that's all good to go. The town took care of that last week.
Yeah, I did see the white paint out
Yeah,
there.
there's a meeting tomorrow morning at 8:30 with the select board to give the official okey-dokey and sign off on a contract and a permission, a hold harmless agreement. I provided them with insurance. And I wanted something in writing that said, you know, you can go in there, because while this can be considered improving property, without permission, it could be considered destruction of town property. So you gotta have an okay. And that's what's gonna be dealt with at 8:30 tomorrow morning. So I'm assuming that's gonna be all right also. And I've signed off, and Bob Fennessy signed off, and we're just gonna wait for the select board to sign off tomorrow. I'd like to start this thing, I can't do it Friday, but I'd like to start, I might even start this thing on Sunday on my own, and then, you know, continue into Monday. I gotta work around O&M schedule also. They're repaving up on North Carver, so I'm trying to get this together. I wanted to really do it 2 weeks ago, but nothing was in place yet. That's
Okay,
that.
actually, now that I'm looking more carefully at this drawing, it looks as though the dotted line, the dotted black line is not the fence line at all.
I don't think it is.
No, the fence line is further to the east and at a different angle.
Yeah.
You can sort of see it through the trees. So there's a lot more room there than we had thought.
Oh, I know it. I'm gonna
Okay.
go to the fence line and scrape some of that underbrush
Okay,
out.
all right, great.
Just to see what happens. But there is some, as we get down toward the back, don't forget, you got some slope.
Yeah,
So,
oh, I know that. I'm
you know,
not-
Once we
I'm-
start digging into the slope, now you
Yeah.
get into the roots of them trees that are sitting there, and I really want to avoid that.
Well, I think we were
A lot of
talking more
invasive-
about
A lot
parking.
of invasive junk in there, too.
I know, that was another thing I was going to
Oh,
bring
there's a
up.
lot of bamboo and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that may have to come out
Well, there's
anyway.
invasive stuff, and I'll
Right.
leave that to you guys. 'cause
Right.
To
Well,
me,
that'll
it's a
be-
tree.
that'll be for another
It's like,
day.
you know, my wife goes crazy because she says, "Oh, didn't you see the flowers? Well, aren't they green? It looks like grass." Weeds, grass, that's all the same stuff. I just mow it over.
Right.
I don't pay attention to what it is. Don't write that down.
Okay, so anyway, that
Some things never change.
that eases my earlier concern about space for parking. Okay, so there's more room, now that I look at it more carefully, there's more room then.
And
than I
while
thought
I'm
there was.
there, and I can't commit to the time frame, but this board has control over that. If you want, I can scoot around the corner and take out some of them larger bushes that are growing off the stumps. I'm not sure that I can pop those stumps because the machine is, I don't think is big enough. But that would be a good thing to maybe grind those stumps. But the smaller ones, I may be able to. You got some stuff growing over there. That side of the property looks rough.
We met with a gentleman this morning who owns a landscape company, and he's submitting a proposal to do the work there, and I'm meeting with another gentleman tomorrow morning, give the same scope of work, get a proposal in, and that's going to be part of our, later on in the meeting, under unanticipated.
But I'm there. and
But
so
thank you, I understand that.
The point is that I'm there, and I'm there with the machine. So if there's some stuff that we can get done, that needs to get done, that's gonna cost extra money for the landscaper to do it, and I'm already there anyway,
Well,
I don't have a problem scooting around the corner.
I've given the gentleman that was there this morning already a scope of work, and it was basically a general cleanup and then just minor maintenance after that, because we're late into the season. So I want to do the same scope of work with the gentleman tomorrow, so that it's apples to apples. So thank you for offering
Well,
that, but I
I'm
think
there
that...
anyway, so.
Yeah, I know you are. I get that.
Okay,
All right, at some point, what kind of a machine are you using to clear all this?
I have a Kubota excavator,
Okay,
and then we're gonna bring down probably the town's front end load of the John Deere, and I suspect we're gonna use the Mack dump truck. And then I'll be coming in there with the trailer
okay.
to take the asphalt out, because that's gonna go out probably in 2 loads. I don't even know how thick that asphalt is yet, but I'm assuming it's not much more than a couple, 3 inches.
Yeah.
Should come
Yeah,
out
probably not.
pretty easy.
A lot of stuff growing through it already.
Actually, I need the front end loader from the town to load the trailer, because the excavator's reach isn't just quite enough to get there without me making a pile up beside it, so.
Okay, very good. At some point, and we talked about this a little bit today, but let's not hold up anything further on this, possibly making some sort of a walking trail that goes off the east side of the pickleball courts up to about the 65-foot line, just a meandering trail through the woods, and then back to the parking lot where the beach is.
Maybe
But that can be something for another day, and maybe something that the Carver Conservation and Trail Stewards can look into. The Conservation Commission also owns a gravely that the town holds for us, if
I have a rough cut mower also in the back of the little Kubota, and I have a wood chipper, and I have a whole bunch of stuff, and, you know, I'll be more than happy, but I'm just not gonna go there and do it alone.
Okay,
So that requires some help,
okay,
you know, so,
all right.
but I'm more than happy to help. And if you wanna come down and visit while I'm over there doing that, don't forget to bring something to drink. Something, soft drink. Iced coffee.
Sure.
And yes, I do miss the commission.
Thank you. Mary, please,
Just a quick question.
can you just come up and, so the microphone, and just sign in, please?
I didn't want to. Just for future reference, when we near the end of this project and to bring in any betterment plantings or things like that, do we have to come before you for approval of certain plants? Or is it as long as it looks okay?
Only if it's in our jurisdiction.
Only if it's within the 100 feet. So you would probably do plantings on the parking lot side?
Probably.
Yeah, so that would be outside. So you would not need to do that.
Okay,
It's only on the northwest corner, if you were to do something back in there, that you would need to come to us.
okay. And would there be any other reason that we need to come before you?
Only if you cut everything down. No.
That'll be Alan's fault.
The whole harmless agreement, renting on the
No, there shouldn't be any other reason.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't miss something.
Okay.
As long as it's not invasive, right, I'm sorry to speak up.
Yeah, as long as it's not invasive, you know. But, yeah, and that would be anywhere, but I'm sure that you would do that anyway. All right, so
Thank you.
what we're looking for tonight is a determination for the
I
RDA.
recommend, since it's pre-disturbed and it's a town project, a -3 with following all the plan notes and implement the erosion control line, and that would be it.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments on this? Any questions for Andy or?
No, since it's previously disturbed, that doesn't seem like it's an issue, really. It's already,
Right.
Point of information, I believe that O&M is going to put in a silt sock or some kind of a boundary on that backside, so we'll keep anything from,
Okay.
so they're gonna they'll put up, I'm not responsible for that, they're gonna take care of that, but it will be done before we get that. yeah.
All right. I have one other question, Mary, basically it's for you, and you can say where you are. Is Recreation driving this bus? Is that who's, because what I said today, because there have been, who's doing what, there are a lot of passengers on the bus, but no driver. So I was wondering who basically is in charge of this project?
I really don't know.
Okay, well, neither did we.
You got a question?
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think at the meeting that we all had that day, way back, I thought it was determined that it would be a series of emails between, I have no problem with conservation, but primarily between Mary, Bob Fennessy, and O&M, Dave Seidentopf, and probably including Andy in this also.
Right, because,
Just so that everybody was on board. I don't know if there was any quote, I think Dave would have taken a stand as supervisor if you want to go that far, just because he's familiar with the construction aspect of it.
right. Well, we were just kind of wondering, because I know this has been delayed, and it's kind of because no one really took hold of it. But the financing through the CPC was to Recreation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I would say that the Recreation holding the money would be the one.
Right, I was gonna say, the only other piece of communication that probably should happen is not so much a representative from CPC being in charge, but them being provided updates. They'll ask for that, so.
CPC writes the check and then they're out of it.
Well,
Not really.
It's
They,
already been approved.
I know, but they also, they assign someone from the CPC to oversee each project to make sure the money's being spent the right way, so.
Strangely enough, no one volunteered to be that liaison at the last CPC meeting, but
oh, really?
Well, that's when
Keep it transparent.
Bob needs to
I'm sure Mr. Bentley will assign.
appoint, yeah, as a point as opposed to
I
a
would say
request.
I'm available to attend any meetings or do any running around or whatever that needs to be done. I just am not up on all the levels of what needs to be accomplished.
Okay,
So Fuss and O'Neill's continuing to keep multiple town departments informed, and
Okay.
Obviously, there's certain decisions that certain town departments make, or more appropriate for them to make.
Right.
But ultimately, Fuss and O'Neill's wrangling all the information together and making sure that...
Who engaged you in the beginning? Who got you involved in this, or was it sort of a conglomeration as well?
Well,
Prior town administrator.
Oh, okay,
Correct.
back when we first looked at it years ago.
Do we call you if things go haywire?
No, call it Alan.
my number's on the sign-in sheet, so...
Honestly and truly, I get a hold of Dave Seidentopf.
Alan, just so you know, on one of the sheets, they do have an erosion control line for the silt socks.
Right.
So that's why I said per plan.
Yes, and I know that O&M is doing all.
Yeah, so they've got a footprint to follow.
They say that O&M is doing the erosion.
All right, I will, at this point, I will accept a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the hearing, moved by Dave, seconded by Dan, to close the meeting for 48 Lakeview Street, the RDA. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing any negatives, noes? Hearing none. It's approved 4-0. Now I will accept a motion based on the recommendation of the Conservation Agent of Carver to have a negative determination 3
Yep, -3.
on the RDA request. Want to make that motion, please?
So moved.
Dan made the motion. Dave seconds. All right, it's been moved and seconded for a negative 3 determination on the RDA for 48 Lakeview Street. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
When do the courts open, Mary? When do the courts open?
Andy,
December 1st.
I'll be there.
Bring your rake and your shovel.
I'm gonna make this.
And my racket.
Copy.
No, that'll be
Would
next
you
year.
sign anywhere right there? We always have the representative
Thank you, everyone.
sign, and then we're
Thank
gonna
you.
put a sticker with their signatures on it and date it. And this will be the record copy.
Okay,
Thanks, good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
thank you.
Thank you.
Andy. All right, as I mentioned briefly in this, today when we were on the site visit, a gentleman from Country Mile Landscaping met with us and went over the scope of work for the 44 Lakeview property, what needs to be done. I'm meeting another gentleman tomorrow from D and something, I don't have the name of it. Anyway, he's another landscaper who replied to a post that I made on the two Carver Facebook pages. He replied by email to me at carver.org. So I'm meeting with him tomorrow so he can do a proposal. And what I want to, I think we got to get this done pretty quickly. So I don't think we should wait till our 16th meeting to hire someone, because it's getting out of control. So
We're running out of summer too.
what I would like to do is ask the board for their permission, ask the committee for their permission for me to make a choice of the two, based on cost. Does anyone have any problem with that?
No.
With me doing that? That way I can, you know, I'm
Move
gonna-
forward, yeah.
I'm going to base it on cost. There's not much to be done the rest of this year. There's one major cleanup to get everything looking nice, and then maintenance for the end of August through September, and maybe once into October. And then we can look at this next year. What I'll base it on is cost will have an impact on the decision I make, but availability will have as much of an impact. Whoever can do it first.
Yeah.
Will probably, if their prices are within
Then, yeah.
reasonable ballpark, whoever can do it first.
They're
I'm
doing
gonna
it
go
cheap,
with.
but they're waiting until next month to do it.
Yeah, I don't want to be 3 weeks out to do
Yeah.
this, so if everyone's okay with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
As long as it's not me doing it, it's fine.
Okay, all right. So we have the Carver minutes for 2 meetings to approve. Has everyone read the minutes for June 21st and July 19th? We good? All right, so we'll look at the meetings for June 21st first. I will accept a motion to accept the minutes as written, unless anyone has any corrections.
Make a motion,
Okay,
approve.
second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Curtis, seconded by Dave, to approve the minutes of June 21st. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's approved 4-0. And then the July 19th. Excuse me. This was,
This one's,
this was,
how were you able to,
Yeah, that'll be,
this is like a portrait.
I get 2 of the same.
Oh, that's on.
Were you actually able to get all the stuff in, or you were most?
well, not all.
Yeah.
Yes. I see that.
Boy,
That's on TV. yeah.
that's a novel, that thing.
So I will accept a motion to approve the minutes as the tome that Ashley has written.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you got it on 4 pages. That's very good. Anyway, I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes of July 19th.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, moved by Dave, seconded by Curtis, to approve the minutes of July 19th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none. It's approved unanimously. Does anybody have anything else unanticipated to add? No?
This question is 46 Federal Road coming up next meeting?
It's supposed to. Have we
Supposed to, I mean, they could continue again, but
Have you heard, you've heard nothing from
I
them?
haven't heard a thing, that's why I said that.
Okay. All right. Very good. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. All right. Dave and Dan for motion and second. Motion made to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We're out. Thank you, Area 58.